Nature Photo Nuts. Nature Photo Nuts.
Crosby, Stills and Nash. Okay, so what's this shot you're going for here then, Jose?
Right, well I'm just trialling something. I like the brightness of the panthers behind these chestnuts, but if I take it as a normal shot, the chestnuts are coming out very dark. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding to it a bit of fill light with my flash. Now it's only a top flash. It's just what the camera comes with, nothing else.
All right, just a second, Jose. Let me just show the viewers what you're pointing your camera at.
Yeah.
And so this is the object here.
As you can see, it's quite dark.
And this is the challenge, is that the background, these pampas grasses, they're in full sunlight. So how are you dealing with the challenge then?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm increasing my flash. So if I come out of that, that's the shot.
Okay.
So far. Now my various attempts are, and I've done lots of different settings to try, and as you can see, they all very much differ greatly, to the point where some of them are just too blown out. Some of them have sort of a happy medium. So you try and balance this with that. Now obviously the camera doesn't like that because there's too much bright behind and nothing in front. Then just playing with the shot in between, obviously a blown out background, trying to increase light, different f values.
Right. So is the only challenge in this shot exposure? Would you say that's the
exposure, and trying to get the balance between what you can see behind and trying to recognise what you can see behind?
Exactly, yes, yeah. What about your high key attempts? Do you think that could be successful?
I don't know.
Because that really, you're basically overexposed. You're exposing the subject properly, but overexposing the background.
Yeah.
What about in post-processing? Do you think?
I could certainly leave it darker, and then increase it that way. Let's have a look at that.
So you're thinking about post-processing now?
Yeah.
As you're shooting.
So I've got a sort of something of a happy balance. You can't really see that they're pampas grasses behind them.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame, but
it's fantastic contrast regarding the edges, the shape of the horse chestnuts, isn't it?
Yeah, with the two individual, it almost looks like an alien's head.
Yeah, yeah. This is a challenging shot because you've got light coming directly at you. You don't have the green colour as such because it's
Bleached.
It's so bleached, yes, and so it becomes an exposure challenge really. And of course, you've got to ask yourself, are you going to expose for the shadows or the highlights?
I mean, it doesn't even look like it's on water for starters.
Right. Yeah.
It looks like some form of tennis court.
It is very abstract, I think. And if I just zoom in a little and see, and it's not instantly recognisable as a pond surface as such, is it? It's a very difficult videoing into the light like this.
Looking at the dappled light, I don't know if you can see that on there. Can you see the screen? So you can see it's a pond, although the stuff behind doesn't look like anything other than possibly even a tennis court. If we move across slightly, what we'll do is I'll show you the difference, same settings and absolutely everything. But I'm just going to do it from a different angle, and the colours will be hopefully a little different.
Let's see.
As you can see, the colour has changed greatly. So let's have a quick shot of this using the overhang of the trees that's around us.
What are you using the overhang for? Is it composition or for...
More composition, yeah, more composition. So that's just a quick shot, but you can compare between the two just by moving around slightly, letting the camera do its own sensor work. You can see the difference between those two shots. That's got a more richer, greener colour. Now I could have changed various settings and taken it to a different colour altogether, but this is just to show you that there is a difference. Same again, if I cross over to the other side, same patch of water because it's linked, but the difference in colour here, I'll get a little bit of the reflection in there. Once again, still dappled light, but you've got a much fuller green. So let's just we'll choose that area there for now. So I'm just going to do a tap on the screen, so it'll auto-focus on that area, just to give you some idea. But it's just about learning some of the different colours that the camera can do just by moving around. Always check behind you whenever you're taking a photograph, because potentially there's a photograph directly behind you.
Did you spot this huge spider's web here?
Yes.
What a monster. Isn't that? Isn't that a beauty? You can work with two different backgrounds here. You could give it that sort of blown out background using the white and the sunlight, or you can put it onto a dark area and see how that works.
Taking a shot of something, yes, you can see it's a spider, but it's not overly interesting. Now, just by changing the angle of where it is, so following the line of that main thread, taking a picture from corner to corner may give us some nice results. So I'm on manual focus at the moment because I don't want it to pick up the chatter that's behind it.
No.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change it ever so slightly. I'm going to zoom in so I can get it sharp using the steadying motion of the camera. So I'm going to make it nice and sharp, come out, and then snap. Let's have a look at that. The annoying part about it is I've got a leaf behind it, which is distracting, which takes another line away.
It certainly does, yeah. So that's a simple height adjustment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to
Still got stuff in the background again, but
sure.
I'm just going to mix that up, make sure we're on sharp.
There you go. So Jason's using the back screen. He's magnifying into that so that he can get the legs of the spider nice and sharp, and really using the live view to its fullest capacity there.
Hello! Put your hands up if you like photography, put your hands up if you like movies, and put your hands down if you like fires. Unfortunately this one's dead, but luckily I managed to capture it with my Olympus pen. There are a number of challenges when you want to shoot a quality time-lapse. You have to get the settings right to start with and make sure that they work throughout the whole of the film. For me, the important choice is shutter speed, because that's going to capture the nature of the fire. I chose, with a bit of experimentation, 1/3 of a second, which gives a nice, some nice flame-like shapes. Shooting a bonfire night is challenging because it's a low light situation with something that has potentially some bright light to it. A fire is luminous, it gives out light. The Olympus has clever auto ISO setting. This was very important for me because it meant that the camera was going to change the ISO first and leave the shutter speed as I'd selected at 1/3 of a second, and but it kept the aperture constant throughout the whole video, which I think is quite important, because if the aperture's changing dramatically, it's going to affect the picture and how it appears. So it was the auto ISO which I think gave us such a quality result in the end. Here's my setup. It's very simple. So I set up my fire, and I have my camera at a safe distance away from the fire. Now when I finished the time lapse, I felt my camera and it was warm, kind of warm like it had been left out on a sunny day. And don't really want to get any closer than that. So from this distance and with a wide angle, what I was able to do is get quite an intimate perspective on the fire. Now the next important consideration with the time lapse is, especially at night or in low light situations, is to use manual focus. You don't want the camera to be constantly trying to focus on the fire, which is potentially dark and has no hard edges that the camera likes to look at to focus on. So it's important to set up your manual focus first. And what I did is I put my mobile phone lit up in the fire before I lit it. It's always a good idea. And then I used my manual focus on the Olympus pen to zoom in there and get the phone nice and sharp. And that was the focus for the whole of the sequence.
Nature Photo Nuts. Feel free to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment.